This is Essie Featured. This is the power of sports.
She ran when they told her it was impossible.
She ran for equality.
She ran for change.
She ran with a purpose.
I run because she showed us we could.
I didn't feel what I was doing at Boston was any breakthrough.
That day produced, I think, one of the great moments in sports ever. It was the birth of Kathrine Switzer as a symbol of women in sports.
And I'll never forget, I came home from school one day and said to my parents, I'm going to be a high school cheerleader next year when I go to high school. And without missing a beat, my father said, you don't want to be a cheerleader. Cheerleaders cheer for other people. You want people to cheer for you. The game is on the field. Life is to participate, not to spectate. And it was like this whole new concept.
Kathrine Switzer found a passion in running and arrived at Syracuse University in the mid-60s. But there was no women's cross-country team. Switzer was invited to practice with the men's team and caught the eye of volunteer coach Arnie Briggs.
To keep me motivated, he would regale me with stories about his exploits at the Boston Marathon. So that came the day I said, I'd like to run the Boston Marathon too. And without missing a beat, my beloved Arnie Briggs said, a woman can't run the Boston Marathon. And I said, what do you mean a woman can't run the Boston Marathon? He said, women are too weak and too fragile for 26.2 miles. And I said, women throughout history have done arduous things. He exploded in rage. He said, no dame ever ran no marathon. And I said, then you don't have a training partner unless you believe some woman sometime can run one. And he said, I believe you could, but you'd have to prove it to me. And if you'd show me in practice, I'd be the first person to take you to Boston.
Even though a woman had never officially run the Boston Marathon, Switzer and Briggs found no gender-specific restrictions in the rulebook. When Switzer filled out her Boston application, she signed it K.V. Switzer.
The morning of Boston, all of us were wearing black plastic garbage bags over our running clothes so we would stay warm. Kathy had her hoodie up, and I didn't think any of us were hiding. I thought all we were doing was trying to stay warm.
There were all the officials with their clipboards checking off the bib numbers. We were all in file, pulled up my shirt with the bib number on here. They checked it off and pushed me into the starting pen. And I said to Arnie, I went like this, and he said, see, I told you there wasn't going to be any problem. The tension has been building up so much, and when that gun goes off down the street, you go, shoo. I felt like a pilgrim going to Mecca. So at about 2 miles, all of a sudden the press bus comes by us, honking its horn and making us move over.
The press bus was not only carrying reporters and photographers, but also race director Jock Semple and New York Times writer Frank Litsky.
And one of the writers spotted a woman running with a number. The writer said, I can still hear it, Jock, there's a woman in your race. And Jock froze, he looked, he said, stop the bus, stop the bus.
I only heard him at the last moment because I heard leather shoes on the pavement, like that, and I turned and he grabbed me. He screamed at me, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers, and went like this to pull off my bib numbers. And over here, my boyfriend didn't say a word, but cut in just like that and gave him incredible shoulder charge. And Arnie said, run like hell. I realized that if I quit this race, which I felt for a split second like doing because I was so scared and embarrassed, if I quit that race, nobody would believe women deserved to be there or that they could do the distance. And I said, Arnie, I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to.
Switzer indeed finished the race in 4 hours, 20 minutes, proving with an official bib number and time that women are capable of running long distances.
I think the biggest turning point in women's sports in terms of this incident was the photograph. All these years later, that is one of the most galvanizing photographs in the women's rights movement because it moved from running immediately into the social context.
Switzer always had the drive. Now she had the power of celebrity to affect the global running community. Switzer's first step was to help get women officially accepted into major marathons. Next, she partnered with Avon to create global, women's-only races. Those events eventually led to the inclusion of the marathon in the 1984 Olympic Games.
I always thought that being a major driver and getting the women's marathon into the Olympic Games was the epitome of my career. So who would have ever imagined that all of a sudden this bib number, 261, would suddenly become a magic number, meaning fearless in the face of adversity?
Kathrine founded 261 Fearless, a nonprofit with the goal of empowering women around the world through running. 120 members will join Switzer on April 17th as she celebrates the 50th anniversary of her first marathon.
Running has made a social revolution for women, that we can really begin a global initiative which is going to take clubs, training, events to women all over the world so they can have the same feeling you have from running.
I don't think a day passes when I really don't thank Jock Semple for attacking me in the race. He not only angered me and frightened me, but he inspired me.
261